Yeah, quickly introduce myself. I guess I'm Tilman Reuker. I run the Pivotal Fellowship, which I'm going to talk about mostly during this presentation. Um, it will be part of the presentation. Another side will be general how to get started with like a safety research and sort of a general overview, how to approach this and like thinking about this. And yeah, I'm really happy for BlueDot to like be sort of like a host for this, so I can talk with you about sort of what we believe at Pivot, how to do this well. The presentation was originally meant to be shared with Tobias, who's unfortunately not here anymore. Like every time you see a meme, just assume that this was like a addition from Tobias, and I have, and we can both and all think about what that means. Yeah, I want to start and kick off thinking about how you may think right now about sort of getting started with like a safety research. Um, yeah, please let me know if you see the slides change. Great. And maybe one thing that you currently believe is something like, yeah, it's really difficult to get started with a safety research. There are like people that have been like extensive track record in doing this. It's really difficult to find like a full-time position. There's also like an insane amount of competition, people that are from extremely prestigious universities just like trying their best now to get into the positions into the positions that I'm currently like eyeing with. Um, yeah, the fellowships and programs for like my stage are like extremely competitive. Sometimes the 3% acceptance rate for fellowships are like a little bit damning, and it's a little bit discouraging thinking about applying to something like this. Um, yeah, hard to get full-time jobs, everything like this. I think these are like reasonable things to believe, and in some sense, it's also true. Quickly introducing you sort of like to the other way of viewing currently AI safety and like getting into AI safety. By the way, I assuming like a lot of AI safety prior context. I just think that you also carry this right now. Um, yeah, we have now a first nice edition AI safety musical chairs. A very yeah scarcity mindset regarding what AI safety jobs currently look like. The other side of the coin is that AI safety as a field is like growing. Um, and I would all like introduce you a little bit to sort of if you believe that AI might be like a really big deal in the next following years, and you don't have like super strong evidence that safety is going to be like less important over the next few years, you will also probably think that AI safety roles will grow to some amount, which is like a really important caveat, right? Because yeah, there will be like probably like a lot more opportunities to do like good stuff with AI safety in the next few years, is at least what I believe. And similar like intro courses or like intro programs will grow a lot. Sort of if you look at the last few years, you already see this, right? There's like new fellowships happening left and right. Meds was, I think, started like in 2020 or 2021. Then Arena came around like 2023, and similarly, you can maybe predict that like over the next few years that there's new opportunities to like join AI safety through like these intro fellowships happening. And similarly, another thing for like AI safety as like a growing area and like a growing field is generally the thought that because it's young and there's like emergent fields and emergent topics within AI safety, it's also like like not extremely easy, but it's like comparatively easy to become like senior in some discipline and no longer be junior, which is maybe what you think is like hindering you from becoming like getting a job in within AI safety. But a little bit more about this in the next few slides. One thing I'm saying here is after 1 year of focus work and seriously trying, you'll no longer be very junior. And I think it's like good to think about this for like a minute because yeah, like gaining seniority is like a really easy intro ticket into like having a lot of impact, right? If you have like experience in like some domain, it's easier to sort of contribute to the ongoing discussion of how like to solve like these really important problems that we're currently thinking about within AI safety. But here's the emphasis on seriously trying, and I think this is maybe a little bit of a yeah, and like an uncharitable or like not a nice thing to say or like to point out what it means to be seriously trying because there's like a lot of you have to be like in a good position in order to be seriously trying getting rid of juniority. But I want to quickly talk about this, how this could look like if you really seriously try to get into air safety. It probably means to be like very proactive, right? And not just like apply to fellowships left and right and or like apply to the best positions that are currently available. So if you see like an anthropic research scientist roles, this is probably like a very nice position to be in. It pays very well. But it's similarly very competitive and like lots of people want to get in. Being proactive could, for example, mean to create your own opportunities. Most of the funding organizations currently have something or like funding organization within a safety. I have to caveat, have something like a request for proposals where you can just apply and ask them like, yeah, can I have some funding to try my hands on this like research question or like this research problem? And if you think about these as like potential jobs that are available, there's like plenty of opportunities where you can like have some really like good contributions to like really important questions that are just at your fingertips. And don't take nearly enough pressure like fellowships do. Seriously trying means to upskill deliberately. You are like already in a really good community right now with BlueDot of people who like want to be better at air safety and want to understand it more. But it also means that you are like the only person right now for yourself who knows where you are in your career and what you learned so far and what you have done in the past. So thinking about like what you want to do in like 5 years, what type of role you want to have, what type of job you want to do, it means you have to be like extremely precise about the things that you need to learn in order to become this person by the end of these years. Still, I would recommend to join programs and do something like intro courses a lot. For this, there's also like a map that will appear in a minute on the right side. If you seriously try something and you created like opportunities for yourself, this is like hand in hand with like doing independent projects. Really important point here is to publish things, collaborating with others, and learn from others. Again, here you are right now here in the BlueDot context, and you are like in an excellent position to just talk a lot with other people about your AI safety ideas and the takes that you share. Really powerful stuff. Like this is not a given that you have like people around you who care about the same things that you care about. So learning together is like a really cool thing. Here's a case about like being open to change directions. This, of course, means in both sense, seriously trying and changing your direction could mean that you change your job, but it also can mean that you change your mind about things. Seriously trying to get and to have like lots of amount of impact does probably require you to pivot a lot. And I feel another nice toy model thinking about how to situate yourself with regard of what happens in the next few years. We have people wanting to join the field on the one and opportunities available as another sort of figure, and they're growing. You are right now in this year, and there's like fewer opportunities available than people wanting to join the field. The question you maybe ask is who's getting these positions, and it's probably people who joined the field like a few years ago, where there were like even fewer opportunities available that the people a few years ago didn't get. I guess I don't have to like explain a lot more how this is panning out. Right now, you are in this spot, and whatever trajectory you anticipate happening in the next few years, you can kind of cast a vote for who, like, do you want to be this person that is maybe like filling a spot that is happening, that is getting available maybe down the line. And I will talk about this period of what could happen like in the few years in a minute. We have first and foremost a helpful sort of like a meme that is actually like ringing true, like how you maybe have like a difficulty like thinking about where you are right now, with regard of opportunities that may be available, how long you need to gain sort of like the seniority required for like a few positions. And for this is also a down point. I would consider you thinking about a lean season. So there are definitely these people that have like a ML PhD from Stanford, they have probably like having a very easy time, applying to jobs and like immediately getting them because sort of like a Stanford PhD in machine learning is just people lose their mind over this, right? It's the easiest thing to be excited about. Most people don't have this. I don't have this. And then it's maybe helpful to think about what it could mean to have a period where um, there's like when you are like preparing for sort of the next job and whatever you want to do next and what fellowship you're currently eyeing with. And the lean season could mean that you, for example, wait a lot, but it could also mean that you just take a pay cut from whatever job you otherwise have like set for yourself. So a few of our fellows in the past have been like doing a quant trading background. I also assume that not a lot of you share this, but if you are a quant trader, you also look at like a really nice salary, and these people take a pay cut, which is part of a lean season, right? It's not like the thing that they maybe anticipated. Could also mean to move to like a new location. I will talk about location and the importance of this also in a minute. But also maybe a title degrade, if you have a PhD in physics, going to research assistant just in order to participate in AI safety, sometimes feels like like really, yeah, not great. If you anticipate that you may need to go through like such a lean season, whatever this means, I think it's really important to position yourself that you can still flourish. What that means is setting yourself up for success in like any point, like any way necessary, like socially and mentally. Socially, again, we'll talk about this in a minute. Also could mean to set up a financial plan if you anticipate that you take a bigger pay cut, etc., etc. Um, yeah, what is Pivotal doing and why? And now I will switch a little bit my hat and I will now wear the I'm Pivotal, a fellowship organizer hat, and less I'm trying to just like get you into doing like a safety research. Yeah, at Pivotal, we are have as a general goal that we want to have people make breakthroughs on really important questions or like to really important problems, answer really important questions. The really important problems that I'm thinking about here are the alignment problem or the control problem. There are many more that we think are worth like really trying to tackle and trying to solve. They're really difficult. And what we want is to, if we want to solve these problems, have people work full-time on them to do just that, right? To have full-time availability to think about this and trying their best to do this. How do we achieve this? We think about it as providing, if the task is to do excellent AI safety research, we want you to do the first iteration like with the best sort of guidance or like the best preconditions possible. And you can think about it in a context of if you do like any sports and you want to execute in like one muscle movement like really well, we want to help you do the first rep of this muscle movement like perfectly and want you to understand what's the in and outs of like doing this first rep really well. Because ultimately we want you to do this rep a lot of times in the future. How do we enable this? It's a 9-week fellowship, mentor guided in technical AI safety or AI governance. You are surrounded by like cool people from other organizations, Apollo, UK ACI apps, but also many more. And if you are doing well and you enjoy doing this one rep, we are very happy to support you doing it a bunch of times. Like we now offer extension support if you do like research or fellowship up to 6 months. Yeah, fully funded. Maybe you are thinking right now, okay, I can't get into a fellowship, and we talk about this in a minute, but I quickly want to talk about what fellowships actually are. And I would like to, and I would say that fellowships are, as a fellowship organizer, fellowships are 3 kids in a trench coat. They are mostly made out of mentors, funding, and community. I don't say that a fellowship is made purely by this, but I think mentors, funding, and community make sort of 70% what ultimately leads to the impact of a fellowship. And maybe the alumni that are maybe talking later can disagree with me on that. But this is currently sort of the model that I'm operating on. And if you don't want to get into a fellowship or any other reason why you don't get into a fellowship, you can organize all these three things separately and still, go on an excellent trajectory, whatever you want to achieve. How do you get a mentor? This is the hardest part. It's definitely not like mentors are everywhere ripe to be picked. Most of the mentors are very senior and want to protect their time because they're doing research themselves. But there's actually like a lot of literature on people giving advice how to do cold outreach to people and how to get people interested in you, even though you have nothing to offer to them except for that you are like a dedicated worker, a dedicated researcher, whatever position you are right now. Um, so you don't, I don't have to teach you to sell maybe yourself, but you can maybe read into this, like how people usually go about cold outreach and like asking people to mentor you. And here also like a nice, like something that I would maybe support is saying like Paul Cristiano, arguably like one of the most senior people right now in AI safety, started maybe like in 2014, like more than 10 years ago. I would believe that he's up to mentoring people if you reach out and have like a mail that is like perfectly explaining why Paul Cristiano is like the only person that could mentor you. I haven't asked Paul that. He maybe disagrees. Maybe there is like not a person that if Paul wrote him a message, Paul would say, yeah, I'm happy to mentor you. But Paul is not the limit here, right? The limit is does it make sense to yeah, the limit is it does it make sense for you to be mentored by a specific person at any point in time? And in order to sort of try to answer this question, the question becomes, what do you want? Why do you want to be mentored by Paul Christian? That's like also like a really difficult part. And in order to answer this, it's really helpful to have like a better understanding what you believe is valuable in air safety. But here again, I would say that you are right now in a really good spot with BlueDot, sort of as a community backbone to discuss this like thoroughly. And if you're not part of this, I think it's worthwhile trying to enable this and like figure out like where you can have discussions on a regular basis with people to think about the similar questions. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, and here the nice like mental image to have is every person in air safety right now is a potential mentor if you try hard enough. Mm. Okay, coming back to it. Doing a fellowship without doing a fellowship, three kids in a trench coat. How do you get funding? This is usually something you can ask your mentor. If you have a mentor, how to get funding? Usually you can get it through organizations such as Coefficient Giving, previously Open Philanthropy. They have like a request for proposals you can apply to, and you can ask them like, hey, my project that I want to do with this mentor is what I'm excited about. And they are like they are very open to reading these proposals. They're very happy to see them. How do you get community is then the sort of like last part, maybe the least important, but still crucially important. If you want to do research in some area, it's probably good to surround yourself with people that are thinking similarly about it. Of course, you can't like for most, it's like not extremely trivial to go to any place to have the best environment. Like very few of us can just like go to Lighthaven and then live there or decide to live there. One because it's expensive, but also because it's probably booked. But there's lots of spaces around the world where there are super cool people like thinking about air safety and working on it in some capacity. And finding these places is really valuable. Here, I would also go to Air Safety World and figure out which spaces are around you. And of course, there's like multiple caveats to being able to surround yourself by cool people. Not everyone sort of lives close to like a major hub, but like trying to make this possible in any way is valuable. And virtual places can also be like really helpful for this. Though they are, I think, rarely better than in person places. Um, okay, taking off the person that just wants to have you join like have you do a safety research, and again on having my pivotal hat on. How does our program try to achieve this? Getting people into air safety. The goal for us is really to have you produce high quality research while thinking about your next career steps and sort of the maybe intermingling of the both. And here we have a nice time. I guess, yeah, I guess we have here the overview of how the fellowship is structured with preparation fellowship and whatever happens afterwards. Um, Quickly noting, how do we want to achieve that you create like a high quality research output? Main important factors are that you have a mentor who has like a track record of actually doing this. And the second thing is that you have a research mentor a manager who pushes you trying to be like operationally the most capable person in actually creating these high quality outputs. Second side, how do we help with your next career steps? Because career steps are like really difficult and maybe confusing. We just talk with you a lot about it and help you with whatever application process you're currently in. And we usually also offer a career fair where you have the opportunity to talk just probably like yeah with really not I don't want to make a statement how many organizations of AI safety because there are so many, but with a large amount of AI safety organizations, especially the ones that are located in the UK. Yeah, lastly, a quick victory round around Pivotal, how we are doing so far. So in the last fellowship, 70% of our fellows continue doing research with their mentor. These people are fully funded by our extension program, and many of them are also like on a trajectory of getting hired to work with their mentors in full time. In the fellowship before, we have roughly a quarter just being hired by the organizations that they did the project with. 6% secured funding themselves to continue working with their mentor. It's maybe like a caveat because it's not really being employed by the organization. Another rough quarter started working at their own orgs, at other orgs, and another quarter roughly started their graduate degree or continued with their PhDs. And now thinking about, I guess, our alumni and our track record, we have a few of our alumni now in the audience who can maybe talk a little bit about what Pivotal has been for them so far. Maybe talk like a little bit about their context of what it was like when they joined, and yeah, talk a little bit about how Pivotal maybe was helpful and what they would maybe recommend to others. Jakub, are you right now in the audience somewhere?
Yes, can you hear and see me?
I can definitely hear you. I can't see you right now, but
Okay, not sure why.
no, I see you. I see you. Nice to see you,
Okay,
Jakob. How's it going?
yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, I'm very pleased to see 188 people in this presentation. I didn't expect such high attendance, I have to say. Yeah, so maybe a few words from myself. So yeah, as you can see, my background is in physics, but it was a very pure and like theoretical background. So I didn't have much experience in AI safety, not even with like applied programming, I would say. So definitely something that that Pivotal helped me with is that they simply gave me an opportunity to actually apply my like more mathematical knowledge into hands-on projects. At the point where I was applying to Pivotal, I hadn't really had any AA safety specific experience. I hadn't even taken the BlueDot courses, the introductory BlueDot courses. So yeah, I'm very grateful that they took a chance on me. At Pivotal itself, I worked on a project about adversarial robustness, specifically on vision language models, VLMs. We are trying to understand why vision language models can be jailbroken and how those jailbreaks differ from the text domain. After Pivotal itself, I did some further, I would say, career exploration. I just tried to learn as much about AI safety as possible. I took some other online courses. Next, I ended up joining the maths program where I worked on a technical governance project. It was more about like hardware and slightly more from the governance angle as well, thinking about the geopolitics of AI, of the AI competition, AI race. That's took me about yeah, pretty much the last 6 or 9 months. And recently, about 2 months ago, I joined an organization called Safer AI, which is a French nonprofit focused on risk modeling and quantitative risk management in AI. So we're focused on modeling cyber attack scenarios that are enabled or uplifted by powerful AIs. And soon in the near future, we hope to move on to modeling loss of control scenarios as well using the same methodology. Yeah, so that's it from me. I don't know if we should move to the next person or maybe there are questions.
Yeah, Jakob, thanks for sharing that. I guess in the end we have like some opportunities for questions, but for now maybe we continue with Monica. Monica, do you want to share a little bit about your trajectory?
Yes, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds good. So yeah, really great to speak with so many people. Pivotal was very well pivotal to my career, so I'm very happy to like advertise it and get as many people to join the program. My background before joining Pivotal, which I did in the summer last year together with Jakob and Leonard. Up till then, I did I had like a math undergrad with AI masters. I then was a data scientist for 2 years, mostly in like a finance startup. So a very different sector, very different kind of work, with like pretty limited research experience overall. And then after I quit my job and started pivoting towards AI safety, I did first this remote fellowship called Athena, like Alignment, which was mostly like a women fellowship. Um, and then a few months later, I joined Pivotal. That was, then on site in Lisa offices. And yeah, just had I think was extremely, extremely useful for my career trajectory at the time. I don't think I would be doing what I'm doing currently if not for like that specific experience. And I have like a couple of very specific examples to illustrate this. So we during the summer we went to a day trip to Oxford where I met one of the researcher that I had like a cold email with. And then we exchanged emails. I then was like, oh, I'm coming to Oxford. We met and he helped me with my pivotal project and then offered to like join his paper. So we're like releasing this new evaluations benchmark really soon. And then well, we also already released it, but we're like working on publishing it now. I also, because of being in Lisa and through all the community and connections here, afterwards joined Arcadia Impact as an eval scientist on the site contracting role, where I contributed to UKAC's evaluation suite. I was sort of a technical program manager for a bunch of inspect evaluations, especially like cybersecurity evaluations. And again, this happened mostly because someone knew that I was in Pivotal at the time and came to talk to me and, kind of offer this role after like multiple in-person conversations here. So I think my main some of my most important takeaways from Pivotal was just like how much Pivotal helps to like speed roll meeting a lot of people, a lot of like researchers from different orgs, from top labs, from like people doing governance, other disciplines, etc. Because I think that I sort of personally benefited from that just a whole lot. And then also because of my previous background, just getting like the actual research experience with a really good mentor. I was doing moral value evaluations during Pivotal under supervision of like Mary Fromm from DeepMind, who's like one of the key sort of people doing this sort of dangerous capability research. So yeah, getting actual research with actual research outputs in the shape of a paper, that was like for me at the time just like extremely like valuable experience. And it's kind of like a future notice to when you apply for jobs or opportunities of like, there's like this evidence of you being able to create like important output. And then I guess all of these experiences led me to where I am now, which is I got um, funding from Technical AI Safety Grant from formerly known as Open Philanthropy. And then I'm leading a two-person project now, like a two-person research group on AI control.
Very nice, Monica. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I wrote red team benchmark based on our conversation earlier. I don't know if this is like actually captures it at all.
A little bit. It's
That's
directionally correct, yes.
directionally correct is what I take. Okay, great. Thank you so much for sharing this, Monica. Really cool to hear. And we also have now Leonard with us. Leonard, do you
Hello. Let's see if it's working.
works from my side?
Nice. That's good to hear. Yeah, the Avengers have been assembled again. It's good to see everybody. That's nice. So yeah, Pivotal. It was again, it's a great name because there's a lot of puns. It was pivotal for me. Also, I was a certified nobody at the start of the fellowship. And now things are different. Um, so going through what was like really impressive immediately was I think the mentorship experience. So Monica also related hers just now, and just like that sort of interfacing and docking to the institutions, which is pretty hard as an individual. So in my case, that was Dane Turbin from the OpenAI preparedness team, which of course has been renamed. Like every OpenAI team, every couple weeks, it's now called the Frontier Evals team. And those people are doing great work, and I keep meeting more of them. I think I know about half of everybody on that team now. Um, it's really crazy, but even more than the just like project itself, what I would like to bring as a unique perspective, like if you get into Pivot or another fellowship, is just like doing random stuff and just working a lot. So I would suggest you do about 60 hours a week if you're in the fellowship, and you just also go on the weekends, because if you're there on the weekends, if they're like the people who are there are really like a bit hardcore, and they appreciate that you're there also. So for example, Dan Brown, now at Goodfire, back then he was at Apollo, based out of Lisa, was there, and I just cold emailed him about like a less wrong post, and we started collaborating, and this has now turned into like a fully fledged, 8 author, 9 author NeurIPS main conference paper over a year of just like doing this also in free time, also supported by the extension grant, which was in its infancy back then. So a really cool project that's called Simple Stories. I guess if you want to read about all the different things I'm mentioning, I'm just gonna paste my website in the chat. I think you'll find all the different things. Also, just like interfacing with me, like with people at Lisa, just like make yourself available during lunch. Try to meet at least one person every day. Try to be high energy and friendly and easy to talk to, and then people will actually come to you actively and be like, "Hey, I have work for you. Do you want to do this?" Which is what happened for me, for example, for the meter bound. A little bit like people tell me, "Oh, why don't you like sell this meter?" And that worked. Or like for the AC, I mean, it wasn't a bounty back then, but like the AC evals project. Um, and that happened also. Um, so just like be thoughtful and wake up every day and are like, oh my God, I can't believe I get to do this, and then you'll end up doing much more than you set out to do, and it's going to be great.
Very nice, Leonard. Those sounds like really good takeaways. I didn't know that Simple Stories was still living, so I'm really excited for this to be like a main
Yeah,
conference paper.
it's still going.
Love it. I think Bruna was also, but I'm not sure if she actually made it. I think that was, maybe it was like a little bit confusing. But yeah, I will not talk on Bruno's behalf. You maybe saw the bullet points, and I will just skip over this. Thanks again for alumni to present a little bit what they thought about Pivotal. I think in the end we hopefully have like a few questions, and if you want to ask like some questions to the alumni, maybe they're like still sticking around and asking or like giving a little bit their perspective on a few things. I would continue the presentation now, musing on application tips and tricks, which is like largely applicable to every fellowship, but I think specifically from our perspective, something I would like to get to say to get out. Okay, application tips and tricks. First and really most important thing is don't use language models to write your application. I think you can prompt a language model in a way that it reads like your language, or that you think that you can prompt a language model well. In our experience, like usually people overestimate how well they can write with language models, and they default a lot to whatever the language model is proposing. In our the fellowship that we run earlier this year, we basically wrote it to every question. We said like, don't use language models for this, and people still like really reliably use language model, because I think maybe earlier this year it was still like the coolest thing to use language model for every writing task. But it was like very easy for us to detect like who didn't took like the actually hours to develop like the ideas and like write down what they thought. Of course, we don't know if the people that we ultimately selected all did use language model. We didn't penalize anyone from using language models, right? We penalized from people giving like bad answers, and that was usually related with our internal flag of if someone used like a language model. We never penalized someone for writing like crudely or like not really hitting like the grammatical nuances of the English language, or like making spelling mistakes. We never penalized this. We penalized a lot more when people use sort of very wishy-washy language and like not really describing anything. So yeah, like if you have one takeaway, like don't use language model. Don't overestimate how much people read language models slop that are on the other side of hiring processes, and that counts for every hiring process. Yeah, rant over. And now the nice things about like tips and tricks for applications. I think a few of you may think something like, I don't have a great background or like a good track record or any other penalty that makes it more difficult for me to get into like any position. You can think about for our application, and I think most of the application actually counts, to focus on the things that you can control that are not based on your track record or your background. And that is for our fellowships, for example, the application questions. Usually the way they are scored is that they are not scored in context of a whole application. So someone is not going through your application one by one and seeing like, this is a name, this is a LinkedIn, this is a CV, scoring the CV, and then seeing the motivation and then scoring the motivation. Usually the way it goes is that they go through like all the motivations at one go and then like score them all one by one. So if you have like a really nice motivation or like a really nice project proposal, whatever this looks like, right? These will be scored independently and have nothing to do with your track record. So really focusing on doing them well is, I guess, like an easy shot. And similarly, like the inverse thing is also true. Like if you know that you have like an outstanding CV, sometimes you can get away with like pretty crude answers. You shouldn't overdo this. But yeah, I think this is usually how like what people know that are like, yeah, Stanford ML PhDs. Usually we can get away with like if they give like really bad answers that we completely ignore them, or like that we not completely ignore them, but that it's like not just flying through the application process. But yeah, I think people who take care in these questions like have a very easy time to get our attention and like get the attention of in any other application process. Second point here is view them as learning experience, because if you think in the end, when you give these answers, that you didn't answer them well, and that also counts for the project proposal, you can think about what has to happen for your next application process when they ask the very same question, what needs to happen for you to be able to answer them better? And that opens up sort of, yeah, for example, if someone asks you in an application process today, what's your AI safety threat model? What do you believe is like the way that AI causes like harm in the world in like 3 years? Very open-ended question. Maybe you don't have an answer, but it's actually like a question that is like really good to have like a solid answer to, or like at least know the caveats or like the screws, nuts and bolts, what you think makes like the answer. So, you know, you can think about this like and take this actually as an experience, like as an opportunity to develop your thoughts around this and maybe stick with the question afterwards. This is not necessarily a host for most questions. Maybe there's like an extremely specific SAE question, like a technical interpretability question that it's very likely that it's not relevant for anymore in like 2 months. But I also think this is rarely the case, and you should use them most of the time as a learning experience for you to flex your AI safety knowledge muscle, because it's very easy that questions are like repeated in a year's time. If you can't get into like a fellowship, don't be frustrated by this. It's most of the time worth applying to these. Tobias just wrote a forum post about this, which you can find also under this URL, like application worth. Most of the time it's just like you're punching above your grade if you're applying to these, and if it doesn't take you like an extreme amount of time, or you don't have like extreme counterfactual costs for doing the application. Similarly, if you can't make it into like the programs that you think are like the coolest, GovAI fellowship is a good example, or maybe the Astra fellowship, which is at Constellation. Think about like going in the funnel like a little bit earlier. I made here as an example Era. I don't know if Era thinks of themselves as like before the funnel for maths. But you can think about like these like programs that are maybe like less competitive than the ones like further down the line, and maybe you can find like programs that are like targeted towards like a really big audience, like SPAR. SPAR tries to really have like a lot of mentors available to support young researchers or aspiring researchers. Here, I think also like the AI world, AI safety info map is really helpful to guide you along this. And of course, the bottom line is if none of these make sense for you, you can do it yourself. I think it's just like very doable. And yeah, I'm happy to talk with anyone about this because I think you don't have to rely on a fellowship. You can just like mold your own destiny. Even though fellowships are extremely convenient and definitely make it easier for you, as you heard from like our alumni. And all that being said, the Pivotal Fellowship is currently accepting applications until like November 30th. You have 6 days left to apply, and I would love to see everyone apply because it is definitely worth your time if you stick in the numbers in the tool that Tobias released. We have tons of really cool mentors that are just waiting to have like people execute with them on like really exciting research. I can also happily share that we don't have like a lot of applications right now, so the likelihood of getting in is, I think, like currently pretty high. If you put in actually like the effort of writing like a good application. And yeah, that's it. That's everything from my side, and I'm really excited to hear what kind of question you have.
All right. And Hussein has unmuted me just as I unmuted myself. I'm going to add myself to the spotlight. And I am also. All right, Dylan, if you can maybe stop sharing your screen so it's only the two of us up here. If you have any questions, please shoot them in on the Slido. I'm heading over there now, and I'll take some of the heavy hitter top questions here. Yeah. The most upvoted question here is, many fellowships assume candidates already have AI safety experience. How can someone with only training from intro courses enter the field without prior roles? I think you already touched on this a bit. Maybe you can talk a bit more about what makes like a good project or how you can do kind of DIY work to show off that, you can do this work. What kind of things you're looking for?
Yeah. If I should talk about like which other things next to prior research experience, what we are looking for.
I think that also would be good, but I think also like what can people do to like show that, they do care about AI safety and they've maybe done more than an intro course.
Yeah, I think this seems like people who maybe want to do this are maybe like insecure about not being able to show enough that they care about this. But I think most of the time the answers are like really the thing that sells to us, like someone thinks about this and cares about this. Like Jakub is like a good example, right? Jakub just mentioned that he didn't do the intro course before, and but he clearly like had to show us something in the application that we were like excited about them. Jakub, I'm sorry that I don't remember your application. This is 1 year ago now. But yeah, I think this is usually like revealed through like good answers, and for those you don't have to kneel in like AI safety literature for like multiple months on end. You can just like read a few things, like read the things that BlueDot is like recommending. These are like usually excellent sources that I'm often recommending people to read. And if you engage with the literature, I think you are able to show us that you care about AI safety.
All right, there is a bundle of questions that's kind of around who is Pivotal looking for? Are you looking mostly for students? Are you open to more experienced career transitioners? Or put differently, what is the prior experience sweet spot for a pivotal fellow? Maybe you can talk a bit more about your ICP, your ideal customer.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. It's unfortunately not something that I can give like a really good answer to because every mentor looks for something different in their fellows, right? We have some mentors that are really in it for example, the counterfactual value, and they look for like mentors where they are for mentees where they are like, wow, yeah, that person is like, if they don't work with me, um, I, I I don't think that they have like a better shot elsewhere, you know, and then they're happy to take them. But we also have mentors who are just purely thinking about like, yeah, is this person like the best fit for my stream, like the best fit for the research I want to do? Helpful is here to read what the mentors are looking for. But if I generalize over a comp about like everything that I care about, it's mostly like someone who has like some experience in like some domain already. Like that doesn't have to be extensive, but for example, if someone wants to do a law project and has like a master's in law or like did a LLC, I think is the right phrase. This is usually like a person where I'm thinking like, yeah, this person can execute on a law project very well because they kind of have maybe even done like 1 year of practice somewhere. And then like, yeah, caring about AI safety is like really, it's like really something that we look for because, yeah, I guess for us it's like easy to see that someone who is not really sold by AI safety or doesn't think that it's an important problem that they are like maybe doing the fellowship and still are not like super convinced by AI safety as a whole, and then afterwards doing something else. And of course, we don't want to create like an echo chamber of like people who just share the same thoughts. We have like very critical people who join our fellowships. But there should be like some level of engagement and like some level of like I completely disagree with like this specific point that we usually like that I'm looking out for.
On the point of echo chambers, there's also another question that came in that asks about elitism in AI safety, and many of the people who come into the early career pipeline being like highly credentialed or coming from highly credentialed institutions. I think the examples mentioned here, like Ivy League schools, Russell Group schools. You have thoughts on that kind of demographic? Maybe you can give the rundown of what the numbers look like for Pivotal.
Yeah, I did in the past. I had like a list of the coolest people in AI safety that are not from like Ivy League schools or for like from like or like from normal schools or like normal backgrounds. I don't have it on top of my head. For Pivotal, it has been like changing like quite a bit. We had like one fellowship where it was like very credentialist, and by coincidence, like lots of people come from like Oxford and Cambridge, and like these really cool universities. But I think the past fellowship, for example, was less of that, and we had like very few people that were like from these classic Ivy League universities. I can't give numbers, but I think, and I also don't want to say that they come from bad universities, right? This is also like wrong to say, but it was definitely not like every person came from Harvard, every person came from Stanford. It was more like good universities, reasonable degrees. And yeah, probably they were just like really good at giving like nice answers to the questions. That is like what we vote like a lot higher. We don't vote on someone who comes from like a really cool university.